Hello.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. Let us know if we look a little crispier this week. He watched a bunch of videos and figured out how to make us crispier, crispy in the best possible way, not crispy in a flaky potato chip kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We're a little warm. I think the color temperature needs adjusted a little bit.
nah, baby, you're smoking hot.
Smoking hot.
You're smoking.
But it should look a lot better.
Today we're going to be talking about some Etsy updates, and I shared, on Threads, and I shared in my email to you guys that I'm happy with some of the updates that we're going to talk about. Some of the updates I'm not so happy about, but it's mostly good. Um, I think that there's just a lot going on right now, and this is typical of Etsy. Before the busy holiday season, they tend to make a lot of changes in order to kind of, I think that they try to optimize the customer experience, the shopper experience on Etsy. And, sometimes that customer shopper experience doesn't quite make us as the sellers very happy, but there's usually a reason behind everything that they do. Over the next few weeks, we can probably expect more updates from Etsy. Some of them might only last for a little while because Etsy likes to make changes and then, test them for a couple weeks, or they test them in small groups of people, of sellers. So we won't cover we won't sit and make big announcements every time there's a small change, simply because there's always a possibility that those little changes are nothing more than Etsy testing something. And if I don't see the change on my end and somebody tells me, hey, I've got this change or I've got this update, that tells me that they've only rolled it out to a very small group of people. And usually tests like that, we don't tend to see those stick. So today, to the best of my ability, I'm going to cover changes that I think are going to be permanent and things that we can expect to stick around through the holiday season. Like I said, a lot of them I really do like, and I can see them being very helpful for us. So let's see, looks delicious. Awesome. Perfect. Well, it sounds like, ouch. Did he get you?
Yeah.
Sounds like everybody is seeing us. All right. So and before we get started, just a reminder, thank you to Abyss Wares. We are doing a charity today for water.org. Not only do they provide water to those in need, but they also help to install plumbing and actually ensure continuous sanitation for countries and areas that don't have access to clean water sources. So please consider donating. We've already gotten $75 for water.org, so that's awesome. We will continue running this particular charity until the end of the month. But if you guys are ready, I think that I'm ready to
I
go.
think we're good.
Okay, so the first one that I don't like, one that you guys don't like, is Etsy's new make an offer option. A lot of you guys have posted your screenshots on how you've responded to Etsy because they give you the suggestion for the make an offer thing. And if you decline, they ask for your feedback. And most of you have said, this devalues our product. We're not eBay. This is not a bidding site. And I completely agree. I think that for vintage products, it's interesting. Um, because I could see it applying to vintage specifically, but it does devalue our products. It's not like, artisan products are created with the ability to haggle. You don't walk into a beautiful artisan jewelry shop and try to haggle with the cashiers. They'll tell you to leave. And I see this causing a lot of problems, especially during the holidays. If a buyer has the option to try to haggle, they're going to go with that option. And obviously, that takes away from our time communicating back and forth. It can make us frustrated. And it can frustrate our customers if they think that it's something that they're able to get.
Fortunately, they're not forcing shops into it. They're giving shops the option to allow it. It's a thing that pops up on your dashboard when you sign in, and you get to choose whether or not they do
Yeah.
it. Like Depop, which Etsy acquired. It's also like Reverb. Reverb does the exact same thing.
But both of those are resale sites.
Ish, yeah. So Reverb's also a place where music stores can just post stuff instead of selling in physical locations.
Yeah, I am not a fan of that particular update. And I do, if you end up turning it off, or, you know, when they do the little survey thing and they want you to give your feedback, if you don't like it, let them know. Be polite.
Big fat nope. I do like that they're giving sellers the option. Usually when it comes to updates and stuff, it's like, no, here's this thing you're going to do now.
Right,
so
right.
Fortunately, they're giving people the option,
you know,
for now.
a lot of people say, well, Etsy doesn't listen to us, but that's not true. Do you guys remember ODR? Well, if you joined before 2020, probably not, but ODR, order to satisfaction rates, basically, if we got so many bad reviews, it would completely just delete your Etsy shop. They would remove your shop. There were all kinds of penalties if you got bad reviews. And it was very stressful when they announced that. Everybody freaked out and told Etsy, this is not fair. Sometimes there are customers who are just, you know, completely irrational, or they accidentally leave a bad review. What about these cases? So Etsy ended up getting rid of that because so many people were upset by it. So just keep letting Etsy know. Be kind, be polite, but let them know why this isn't good for us as sellers. And maybe tell them, you know, if you think that it would be better for vintage shops, let them know that as well. Even if you don't sell vintage, say this feels like it would be a great addition to vintage sellers.
It could also be a way that people could offload their unsold inventory. Like if you have a bunch of crap that nobody's buying because it's just not your popular stuff, you could put it up for bid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see its uses, but I don't think it's right for the platform.
Yeah. Next thing is on July 24th, I believe, Etsy is going to be putting into place their latest copyright, trademark, counterfeit policies. This came after that article by Citron, which, if you guys didn't see it a couple months ago, the company Citron posted a blog talking about the amount of counterfeit products on Etsy. And I don't like the word counterfeit. That's not quite what I think they should have been focusing on.
That's not specifically the issue.
Yeah, it's not so much counterfeit. It's resellers, right? It's people who buy a bunch of things that
drop shippers,
right? But they buy a bunch of stuff on Alibaba and they resell it, and you know, there's nothing about it that falls into Etsy's policies. Fun fact about that whole Citron thing: that guy who wrote that article emailed me and asked me to give feedback that he could put in that article, and I didn't know who he was, and I was super rude to him. I was like, I told him that I did not think that counterfeit was, you know, what I would consider Etsy. And he was speaking of Etsy as like Etsy was producing the products. And I'm like, you got to consider
his articles were extremely disingenuous.
Yeah. I said, you've got to consider that it's just like driving a car. There's going to be people who violate traffic laws, but that doesn't mean that all Etsy sellers are bad. It doesn't mean that all drivers are bad. So trying to make this article that frames Etsy, you know, badly, you have to think how this reflects badly on sellers. Yeah. I had no idea who this guy was. And then it ended up,
because he's good at writing news that gets views, not about writing the explicit truth.
Yeah. But July 24th, they're refining their copyright policies to make it a little bit more clear. The article is already up. If you search for Etsy, you know, actually, let me pull up the link and we can actually send it to them, because I was actually going to record a full video about it. And then I decided that because it's kind of the same policy, just where's the chat at? You want to paste that into the chat? It's the same policies, but they've just made them more clear. But they say that they go into effect on July 24th. I couldn't find anything that was different from how the policies were originally written, because I check those policies frequently. I think that they just made it more clear for those who have read the policies and don't quite understand them. So he's going to go ahead and post the link in the chat if you guys are interested in checking that out. But these changes do go into effect on July 24th, which likely means that they're going to start cracking down a lot more. And I know that I feel like I create a video about this every year where I'm like, Etsy's about to crack down. Etsy's about to crack down. Well, Etsy's been cracking down. And,
yeah, they have been for a while.
And I can definitely vouch that they've been cracking down because they have removed 2 of our listings. One got reactivated. One is yet to be reactivated. And it doesn't violate Etsy's policies, but that tells me that, you know, they're trying their best to start enforcing these policies. So just be aware if you're one of those sellers who has things in your shop, like, you know, Disney, you know, if you're blinging out Starbucks cups, if you're doing, you know, refurbished Pokemon cards, there's so many things that you guys create, and it scares the heck out of me. Not because I, you know, want to take these income sources away from you, but it's against the law. And I really am nervous for you guys. So just please be careful, and please be aware that July 24th is when the link that we just put in the chat goes into effect. So there's that. New thumbnail sizes. That's new. Etsy has been playing with the idea of doing different thumbnail sizes for several years now. There was a test period where they had all of their thumbnails shaped like squares. Now I don't quite have the exact size, but we do have a video Christina Nicole just published on her channel. We should grab that link. If you, God, my nose is so itchy today. We should
making me type stuff.
I'm sorry. Go to by Christina Nicole, and it would have been her latest upload. Yes, it's the first video with her super silly face. Yeah, there we go. So Etsy has changed their thumbnail sizes, and they're not quite squares. They are bunched in a little bit. And if you haven't, you know, checked your own thumbnails, you'll just want to check that nothing has been cut out, because it's really, you know, the borders are kind of scrunched in. He just posted the video that Christina Nicole did. She is my favorite photography coach. My Handmade Alpha Academy students, they get one of her programs for free. She is amazing. Definitely watch her video, but I really just wanted to mention it. That way you guys could start doing research on your own, because right now I've actually been waiting for Christina to make the video on what she suggests for the new sizing for those photos, because she is the photography expert. So we're going to just let Christina handle talking about that, because she's awesome. Go check her out.
Tracy asked if that's are they a permanent thing? Is it a permanent change, and is it for everyone? It
likely is a permanent change, because it started out in a small group and now everybody has it.
Is it? Say, I haven't seen this yet. Is it just are they bigger? Like, what specifically is it?
They're not as like long horizontally. They're
changing the aspect ratio.
Well, from mobile, I was looking at it last night thinking maybe that this was a mobile optimization thing, and I really do think that that's the case. I think that they're trying to better mobile optimize. I will pull up, let's see, I will pull up something that I'll just pull up something random. I'll pull up this necklace.
2019. See, the thing is, you Google this and Etsy doesn't even have anything published about it.
So here, do you guys see it's not quite a square, but do you see how it takes up the whole screen? This and the videos.
Yeah, it just looks like a different aspect ratio.
Yeah. So it's not, I think that they're really doing this to cater to mobile users.
You have to send me an article so I can actually look in and dive into what specifically they're doing, because I can't find anything on it. So
yeah, well, they just did it, so there's probably no best practices yet for sizes and things. But like
2,500 by 2,000, so 5 by 4. That's really weird.
Interesting.
That's a really non-normal aspect ratio. Anyway.
Yeah, very strange. So thumbnails, definitely go check your Etsy shop. You know, don't stress if as long as you can see what your product is, I wouldn't stress too much about it, especially if you've got thousands of listings. But if your product photos are cut off, or if you're one of those like digital sellers who has the little banner at the bottom that states that this is a digital product or this is a digital download, then it's probably a good idea to make sure that none of that is cut off in a search page.
And Johnny had said the other problem is that there's a lot of instances where it's fair use, but they still take it down. Like parody is a big one that Etsy doesn't support
Right.
parody, even though parody is 100% fair use. They still side with the copyright. They're the thing is they're a business. They're allowed to interpret. They cannot be more relaxed on copyright law, but they can be more strict in their interpretation to keep themselves safe as future proofing.
Yeah, yeah. So next one is one that we've talked about a little bit already, but on most of your guys's listing pages, if the buyer gets through all of your photos, a little thing will pop up that has related searches, you know, basically like, oh, didn't find what you were looking for in this listing. Try refining your search to this. And then they click on that and it takes them to a new search page. Now, this is like a 50-50 for me. On one hand, yes, they're being taken away from your search page or from your listing page to see other similar listings. Okay, that's bad, right? However, if they've looked at all of your listing photos and they're still not happy with what they've seen, then that tells me that you didn't have what they wanted to begin with. And what if they refine their search by clicking that button and it takes them to a similar search, and, you know, assuming that you sell within a niche, they find another one of your listings that they're more interested in. So there's that side to it, but also it means that your listings have the possibility to show up in searches if someone is clicking on one of your competitors' listings and they don't find what they want with your competitor, and they click that button and it takes them to a page where your listings are. So I think that it's 50-50 here. I think that it's more good than bad. And I know a lot of people are upset seeing it on their listings. But I'm going to assume that if somebody had went through all of your photos and they were really, really happy with what they see and they're interested in buying, they're either going to favorite, save it for later, and then look at and see, you know, what the other options are, or they are going to just put that item in their cart and not worry about even conducting that search. So again, 50-50. You guys can decide for yourself if you like that one.
I like it.
That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that it's a huge deal.
Nah.
New one. This one I really like. It's one that Amber Marie just sent me that popped up for her. Flexible order processing schedule. So let me pull it up. It's a little pop-up that came up. Do we want to share the screen or do you want to just...
As long as you're fine showing all of this stuff in your Trello.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just my video ideas.
Okay, we're screen sharing.
All right, so she got this pop-up. Etsy shoppers are more likely to buy items that dispatch quickly. If you already process orders on weekends, now you have the option to update the standard Monday through Friday schedule so shoppers will see more accurate, sometimes faster delivery dates. If a dispatch by date falls on a Sunday, we'll bump it to the next business day. You can change the setting anytime. I love this because I get so sick of seeing sellers, you know, who they're not.
Can I switch back?
Yeah. Where Etsy, you know, makes it seem like we have the ability to even ship on Sundays or on holidays. Now, I don't know if holidays are included in this. There actually was another screenshot here. Oh, I think it's the same. In the last year, you processed blank percent of eligible orders on weekends. Now you have the option to update your processing schedule. So Etsy actually tells you what percentage of your orders you dispatch on the weekend. So that's really cool. And then you can decide if you want to incorporate that into your workflow by checking if you dispatch on those weekend days. So really like that. I think that that's really cool. It's something that Etsy should have incorporated in a long time ago. I don't think that we should even have the option to dispatch on Sunday because we can't dispatch on Sunday. I guess if I think UPS
still does, yeah.
Yeah, UPS does. But I thought that that was a really cool one that I like. And I hope that that's something that sticks around, especially during the holiday season. So way to go, Etsy. If you guys see any issues with that one, feel free to let me know. But I think that that one's good all around, especially since we have the choice. Big fan of that. Another one that I noticed, we'll probably want to go ahead and share this one again as well. I don't know if this is new or maybe I just noticed it, but items that are on sale, the prices are now displayed in green. That's a good psychological trigger. Feel free to let me know if that's something that's been around for a while and maybe I just shop on mobile and have never noticed it. But at least on desktop, I really like to see all of the sale price items in green. This is just a random screenshot that I took, so no idea who those sellers are, but love that update. Again, that for everybody who's in Handmade Alpha Academy, you guys already know about the color psychology. When it comes to green, it's a positive color. It is going to trigger action. Really, really love that. So nothing bad about that at all. We have another new feature on our listings. This one I really, really love. If you look right here on this listing, it tells you that this shop has more items and it gives little previews. That way, if you're on this listing page, rather than clicking back, the back button and landing back on the search page, maybe you say, well, I don't particularly care for this listing, but they've got 100 plus more items. Maybe I'll go check out their shop. So big fan of this. I think that this is really nice. It shows the number of reviews that we have. If you've got star seller. Now, because they've moved this down here, remember our shop name used to be up above more towards our price. It's not there anymore. Our shop name is only under here, but I kind of like it. I like this little call to action that drives them to your storefront. So maybe they add that item to their cart and, then they go to your shop and see if there's something else that they might want to add to their cart as well.
I had a few people saying that the green sale thing is not new. Keep in mind that not all updates are immediately seen by everyone. So something that you have seen is not necessarily something that everyone sees.
I also don't shop on Etsy on my desktop. I shop on Etsy on my phone, and I use my desktop specifically for work-related Etsy stuff. So maybe I just haven't noticed it, but I like that. Okay. Last one is item removal. Oh. Wrongful item removal. A lot of you guys have gotten flagged for drug paraphernalia, for copyright, for counterfeit. I just got a strike in the Alpha Adapt shop for counterfeit. For our POD, we've got backpacks,
which we will be fighting.
Yeah, those are
our design.
Right. They're through an approved POD partner. It's our design. It's
more than likely it's somebody else that uses the same backpack or mock-up or something like that. And
yeah.
Just being a stinker.
So I think that what's going on right now that we all need to be aware of is that there is no human being going along picking out these listings. If you've gotten flagged for anything that doesn't quite seem right, just be aware that Etsy right now is training their AI. They talked about this in their Q1 financial report. I covered it on my channel and got a bunch of hate for it. And a bunch of people who are like, what about POD? Which I should have acknowledged that POD is separate. But basically, Etsy is training their AI to find listings that don't align with Etsy's terms. And the way that AI works is it has to make mistakes in order to learn and grow. So what happens is this AI is going along Etsy looking for things that it has found other places on the internet, right? This is especially concerning for POD products that utilize mock-ups that are similar because Etsy's going to find similar products. In the case of our backpacks, the backpack itself is, mostly a plain color, and our design on the backpack is quite small. Therefore, that AI likely just detected the image itself. So when the AI catches one of these products, what we are assuming happens is it gets deactivated. Etsy lets you know that it's been deactivated for, copyright, counterfeit, drug paraphernalia, which we're seeing a lot with jewelry being taken down for drug paraphernalia.
Linda Blatchford says she got one for drug stuff.
Yeah. And it sits in limbo until a human being looks at it, and they say that can take a couple days. So once that human looks at it and they determine that it's okay, they approve it. We had it happen with one of our hoodies in the Alpha Adapt shop, and it was reactivated quite quickly. This backpack that's been deactivated, it's been deactivated now for several days, and I haven't had any updates yet. So I think that right now, what we need to do is remember that we asked for this. We didn't ask for how it's come together, but we did ask for this. Everybody had been complaining earlier this year and last year about all these drop shippers, all this non-handmade stuff. Why isn't Etsy doing anything? Why isn't Etsy taking these people down? Why isn't Etsy doing this? And I brought up the point that in order for Etsy to do this, they would have to have AI or bots doing it. They could not employ enough people to vet that many listings, especially when there's over 5 million sellers. How many listings do each of those sellers have? There's no way a human could do that. So the only way they can do it is with a machine. Okay. Machines make mistakes. Machines mess up. Machines do things, based on what they know. There's no human eyes vetting things. And I believe that I told everybody that if they end up having AI do this job, this is going to happen. At least until the AI gets smart enough to be able to do the job well. Right now, it's a toddler and it's coloring with big, giant crayons. And it's trying really hard to stay in the lines, but sometimes it just flies, out of the lines. And then, we unfortunately are the ones who have to deal with that. And what's going to happen over time is it's going to get smarter and it's going to get better and it's going to color more in those lines. And every once in a while, it might shoot out of the lines, but for the most part, it will get better and more centralized. But we have to work through this really, really frustrating period of listings getting deactivated for no reason until that happens. So this was Etsy's solution to a problem that we have had and that everybody has been telling them about for years as being super frustrating. They are trying to do the right thing, as frustrating as it is. I can't imagine how frustrating this would be if you've got like one big bestseller and it gets deactivated like before the holidays or something. I completely understand the stress here. I wish they would have started doing this earlier or started training the system earlier. That way all of this could have been, done with, and maybe by the holiday season, it will be better. But I think that if they would have tried to implement this maybe in January, then again, AI wasn't as good in January. It evolves constantly. So, if you guys end up getting one of those emails, don't panic. It doesn't put a strike against your shop. It doesn't mean that you actually have drug paraphernalia or a counterfeit product. Typically, they do reactivate those listings relatively fast, but right now they've probably got so many to sift through that it's going to take a little longer than it did a few weeks ago when our first listing got deactivated. However, I do want to point out that we are seeing in the Shine On groups specifically and Shine On sellers. So, Shine On, it's a POD company where you can get things like watches, the backs of watches engraved and different things. They've got some cool products.
Yeah, y'all are in trouble, unfortunately.
However, for the jewelry sellers who work with Shine On, where you don't design any part of the jewelry, it's just the backing card. Like there's some where it'll be a necklace. And then the card in the little jewelry box will say, "To Mom, the greatest mom in the world. You've been with me through hardships and blah." And it'll have like this cute little thing. But ultimately, that's not print on demand product. That's print on demand packaging. No hard feelings to anybody who, creates products like this. But I can see where Etsy might not reactivate these types of products because it doesn't fall into a POD product. It's the box that is personalized. For the watches with the engravings and you've designed, what goes on those, that's a little bit different. But I do really worry about the sellers who are only having the customized backing cards while working with Shine On. Don't rush to go deactivate all your listings or anything like that, but just be aware that there is a chance that in the coming weeks, you unfortunately might see some of your listings get deactivated and not get reapproved. And I am trying to stay updated on this. I joined some Shine On groups and oh my God, they're so toxic. I don't even want to be in them because they're so toxic. If anybody's got a better Shine On group to join, feel free to let me know. But it's been really gross. But with that in mind, I'm trying to stay updated so that I can let you guys know because we've got several HAA students who do Shine On. We've got so many people in our community who use Shine On.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
The situation's not good. I would If you primarily do that, obviously the jewelry being the big one, I would probably try to start pushing away from it because it's probably going to bite the bullet soon, even though it's a listed partner. And the watches and stuff are probably going to come soon after that. That we haven't seen any issues with that, but I can almost guarantee that those are going to be a problem too.
I think I don't know. I would say that if you currently only design your backing cards, try to incorporate in some of those other jewelry pieces that are engraved from Shine On, because I haven't seen any issues with those. Obviously, there's a possibility, but they are an approved Etsy partner.
The thing is, Etsy's a handmade platform, and those are about the furthest thing from a handmade product. So I could see Etsy ditching that partnership.
Yeah,
I really wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to take a stance on one side of that or the other.
Right. With artists, I understand you need to be able to print your artwork or your photography or your designs onto mugs and shirts and things so that you could produce more of them than what you could draw by hand. And that makes sense to me. But
they're still handmade because
right.
The thing is handmade, but the thing that you're selling, if it's not literally not handmade and the only thing you have to do is type a message in that somebody else told you to put there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really be surprised that it's happening. Again, I'm not going to take a stance on either side of that because they are an approved partner right now. But you can't really be surprised or upset that they do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you guys are free to get your questions in. I did want to make just 2 quick announcements. You guys can ask us anything. It doesn't have to be about the topic that we discussed today.
Yeah.
I know this topic was a little bit fast, but I think that it's good information to know. That way, as we move into the holiday season, you guys kind of know what we can expect, especially with the listing deactivations. But the 2 updates I have, one is personal, one is more content related. The personal update is especially for Handmade Alpha Academy students. You guys will be getting an email from me tomorrow. But basically, Mark and I are going to be going on a little trip into the woods. We call it a vacation, but really what we're doing is we're locking ourselves in the woods and in the quiet and staying away from everybody.
We don't know if this will be in the woods or not, but pretty much
mountains.
Yeah.
We're
leaving.
We're isolating. But we'll only be gone for a couple days. We'll be gone from Sunday through Thursday, and we will be back in time for the Friday Bean. There will still be a video on Tuesday. We just won't be here to moderate the comments on it.
I'm taking him upstairs.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you guys who are in Handmade Alpha Academy need me over the weekend for an emergency, just make sure that you email my private super secret students only email address, and make sure that you put emergency in the subject line. Otherwise, I'll get back to you on Friday when we, get settled in. So there's that. The other thing is that I am starting another new Etsy shop with Michelle Badger. She was the editor for my book, my sci-fi book, The Channel. She has several Etsy shops of her own. If you've been a longtime viewer of the channel, the channel not the channel like my book. If you've been a long-term viewer of our channel, she is the alpha who did all of the accounting interviews. She also does all of the accounting blog posts over at eRank. So super duper excited to be starting a shop with her. We are going to be creating bookish themed merch for the purpose of being able to talk about legal licensing with you guys. I'm so excited to be able to do that. And we've already obtained some really big licenses from authors. It hasn't been a super difficult process, and I'm feeling pretty confident about being able to teach this material. But for those of you who are like, how do I make, products that are in demand based on my favorite series or whatever, you really just kind of have to aim for the low-hanging fruits. You're not going to get Star Wars. You're not going to get, these big, crazy Netflix series like Umbrella Academy. But some of these book series that are very popular aren't too hard to get licensing agreements with. So really excited to share more information about that soon. But for now, I'm going to keep it all under the veil until we actually have some products to announce.
Under the veil.
But I'm very excited. It's going to be bookish themed.
All right. I don't understand why people are being deactivated for drug paraphernalia when there are so many Etsy sellers selling pipes and Sherlocks, etc., and they never get shut down.
I'm not sure because
I'm not quite sure. I think the whole thing's a little stupid anyway, considering the majority of that stuff is good. Pipes and Sherlocks can be sold as tobacco paraphernalia, which is okay to sell.
I believe Etsy's rule is that if there is a visible carb on any product, then it is considered drug paraphernalia. But things that are getting deactivated, silly things are getting
Like jewelry.
right, little charms, cute little things are getting deactivated. So it's I don't know.
We're not quite sure what's going on with that. It'll be interesting to see as legalization becomes more prolific.
We don't have any alphas who sell any type of like pipes.
I'm sure we do.
Or any maybe we do.
I'm sure we do. They're usually not super vocal because they don't want to get themselves targeted by crappy people who are also
right. Well,
alphas.
I would be interested to hear from somebody who sells products like that and see if they've gotten,
That's what the Discord's for.
That's true. That's true. We do have a Discord for 18 plus products, and those would fall into 18 plus. So,
will this affect partnerships? We had an item that was made in conjunction with another company, and when we argued this, support told us because we weren't the ones to place the design, it didn't count.
I think I would need a little bit more context. It really depends on what the partnership is. I think context is what matters here. Though Etsy support is not the best these days.
Is that the same as mugs or such printing?
That would be print on demand, which is okay, but you still might accidentally get deactivated. And assuming that you get that manual review like we talked about, things like mugs should get reactivated because Etsy knows that POD sellers or that artists rely on POD partners in order to distribute their art. So I would assume that it's okay as long as you're not like selling a Starbucks themed mug or something.
Pam said, ooh, interesting timing. I might need to talk to you. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Hey, Starla, I have a tarot store on Etsy. We just got some news on that stuff. I have it right with the policies and no spells. I was wondering if the changes and updates will affect that community as well. Yeah, so we actually did just have an update with the tarot stuff. If you're selling tarot decks, first of all, the designs need to be yours on them, entirely original by you.
I think it's okay. So it's readings. One of our alphas looked into.
I was gonna get into that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, when you're selling decks, they have to be original. If you're doing readings, it's the same process applies. So if you're selling videos of you doing tarot readings, the cards that you're using in your videos must be either an open source design that is approved for you to use for that kind of thing, authorized by the creator and the artist of the cards, or they need to be your original designed cards. If they're not yours, they will take the listings down.
Yeah, or they could. So what I would recommend because it's not an issue of what you're selling, as long as you're providing a product, whether it be the reading on a PDF or a video that you've made for them, you're providing them with a product.
Yeah.
However, if you are doing a video reading, you've got to be conscious of the cards that you're using. And I know that that's crazy because the original decks are from like what? 1700s earlier. You guys feel free to yell
Nobody
at me.
Uses those decks anymore. They're all custom.
Well, no, but a lot of those decks are just reprinted, but they are still owned. Even though they're old, they're still owned by
a company.
A company. Yeah. So I would just kind of start looking into ways that you could make. I mean, there are plenty of custom decks. You could probably work with artists to buy some decks on Etsy and, something that's a little fun, a little modern, maybe something that matches your branding. Ask them if you've got permission. Can I have your permission to use these in my business? But just be careful now because this is something that I never even considered.
What's the difference between an engraved watch and a printed shirt? Not much. Actually, there can be a pretty significant difference depending on how much of the design that's going onto the watch is yours and whether or not it's just text. If you're just typing in text for another company to engrave on a watch, that's a little bit different from somebody who spent 10, 20, 30 hours drawing, painting, or designing some kind of design that's going to be printed on a shirt. I'd say that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can see his argument though, where like if
I understand.
POD companies,
but
where
it's not even remotely the same thing,
right?
Like if you're designing the design that's going on it, that's one thing on the watch. But if you're just typing in text that's going to be put on the watch, you're not doing anything. There is literally zero work being done on your end, where somebody could spend upwards of 100 hours on a design that they're going to be putting on a shirt. The difference is that the design that is going on the end product had design work done to it. That is the main difference. It is a literal difference. However, if you're making designs that are getting printed on the watches, I don't know enough about the specific company if they do designs as well. That's of course different. Where is this list of Etsy approved partners?
So if you go into your Etsy integrations on the left-hand side of your dashboard, eRank's in there. But if you look through your integrations, typically any of the, the big ones that Etsy recommends are listed in there. Those are the ones that I consider to be the safest. Printful, Printify, yada, yada. But I believe that you can Google a full list because there's a lot of other companies. I typically recommend sticking with the ones that Etsy actually has listed just because Etsy advertises that they're integrations, but there are more than that.
What if your POD shirt is just text as well? Well, you're nitpicking at that point. Obviously, there's.
I mean, I understand.
We understand. We're not trying to argue the point one way or the other. We understand, but that we're just stating that there is a difference between putting text on a shirt or on a mug or on a watch and someone who spends 100 hours on a design that's going on that thing. There is a difference.
Right.
We're not taking a stance on one side of the aisle or the other. I could care less.
Right. We're trying to argue on behalf of how Etsy sees it.
Yeah.
We're not saying
there's a logical sense to them taking down listings that have literally zero handmade nature to them at all.
Right. We completely understand where you guys are coming from.
Yeah.
That it's no different than just sticking a quote on a shirt that you mocked up in Canva, picked a font. And I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But with Shine On watches, we'll say there's no way to upload a custom painting onto that watch, whereas a painter would rely on a service like Printify to print a design on a shirt. So who's Etsy more likely to eliminate if they were to eliminate a company? The one that an artist relies on or the one that has no ability for you to upload, your art? And I don't know enough about Shine On to even be able to say that that's true, but I'm trying to argue from that stance of the middle where I can understand why Etsy might be making these choices. And we just need to remember that whether we like it, whether you like it or not,
Etsy's choice.
It's Etsy's choice, and we need to be aware of the possibility that this could happen. And this is one of the things that as a YouTuber I struggle with the most, because anytime I report on the news or an update, I get and I'm not talking about you guys, but when I post a video like that, everybody comes and they attack me because they assume that because I'm sharing that news that I am in agreement with it.
It's not how that works.
And you guys don't shoot the messenger here. What I would need to do as a content creator is make sure that you walk away from these streams informed on all possibilities, whether you're happy about them or not. It's not my job to sit here and sugarcoat everything to make everybody feel super comfortable and nice. We need to be prepared when bad things happen, especially if your entire livelihood relies on the ability to create products like these. My job is to come here and make sure that you walk away with the information that you need to know in order to make educated decisions for your business. So yeah, everybody be cool.
Be cool.
Be cool.
Also, there's almost 400 of you here and almost no questions left. Get your questions in. They don't have to be related to the topic at hand.
Shoot the messenger. Shut up, Johnny. We love you.
What is the best way to contact you not in the Handmade Alphas? Starla at handmadealphaacademy.com.
We probably will not be able to get back with you until after vacation. I think we have 46 emails from random people who aren't in HAA.
Yeah, after literally this, we're preparing to leave until Sunday, and we will be gone until next Friday. So we will not be touching anything until then.
Yeah. Please, if you email me, the best way to get me to respond is to not write me a novel. Because honestly, those emails, we usually don't look at them.
Nope.
You got to consider that, when we're answering HAA students, you guys are different. You've paid for that. But when the whole world sends me big, long emails that take me 10 minutes to read, decipher, pull the questions out, and then respond to thoughtfully, that could be 20 minutes of my time. So just keep them concise and you'll typically get an answer from me.
We get about 20, 30 emails a day.
Yeah.
So if we get a bunch that are paragraphs, we literally don't have the time to sit and read them. So we prioritize the smaller ones.
Can you drop a link to the Sci-Fi Channel? It's not a channel. The book is called The Channel. So, but if you search The Channel by Starla Moore, it's everywhere. It's Amazon. It's on Walmart.com.
I think if you just search on Amazon
Yeah.
for the channel.
And you know what's funny is it's a sci-fi book, and I don't like sci-fi. There it is.
Right under the terribly reviewed Prime Video series.
My book's got better reviews, 16
It
of them.
does.
But yeah. I try to make it sound super scientific, but it's like Rick and Morty level of science where like it sounds like it's right, but it's probably not.
She tried.
Oh, come on now. You liked it.
It's a good book. It genuinely is a good book.
There's a part 2 coming eventually.
My tardigrade got deactivated by drug para. That's hilarious. Those water bears are shifty though. Yeah. I sell jars marketed to use to store 420, and I got an email of removal, but they reactivated it.
It's probably the keywords that you used in your listing.
Yeah, they probably auto slap them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The OG Rider White is public domain, but the US games isn't. They look basically the same, so I don't know what AI will think of that.
Oh, interesting.
AI will probably think they're the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
I make table runners and home decor items. I get my fabric from stores like Joann's. I don't use Disney or any trademark characters. Can they deactivate my listings based on the fabric designs?
You need to make sure that when you go to the craft store and you buy your fabric, you flip those bolts around before you even have them cut any of that fabric off, and you read that bolt. Because a lot of the time that bolt on the end will say not for resale, not for distribution, yada yada, not, for personal use only. If you see any language like that on that bolt of fabric, even if it isn't Disney or themed, you cannot use it for your products. So just make sure that next time you go to the craft store, even if you've got fabric that you already have at home, go find those bolts and double check to make sure that you're safe. Because there is always that possibility, but it's going to be completely dependent on the specific type of fabric that you used. And I always have people who say, oh, the first sales doctrine. Well, the first sale is literally
when you bought it.
You bought it. That was the first sale.
It could also be considered when Joanne bought it from the company that printed it.
Right. It's that you're not protected under the first sales doctrine.
Not even close.
Because you are not the first sale. You are subsequent. You actually are the first sale, but you reselling it
would be the second sale.
Those are subsequent sales, and those aren't covered. That license doesn't carry. But it doesn't just have to be, Disney themed products. So check your bolts.
Small businesses in regards to giving you permission have all said yes for me to using their deck so far.
That's awesome.
Big brands haven't gotten back to me.
Well, I love that the small businesses have. That's great. And that's a little more fun because then you can have some really fun decks that are different than what everybody else is
If you
using.
get big enough, it could be a sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got great branding. Some custom branded decks later on would be fun.
If I do 4-edge painting on books, would it be allowed to sell without licensing? See, that one's a touchy one. I don't know.
No. So you can't. You have to be licensed by the author or the publishing company. I'm going through all that right now. Because not only are you selling their book, but you're altering it.
You're also selling parody art that is inspired by the text within the book. Right. Usually.
It's not parody, it's fan art that's inspired by the book. But either way,
same thing. Yeah,
you have to be licensed to resell it. Now, I will say that we have had a really easy time getting licensed. We've gotten licensed by some big ones.
Some of them take a little bit more time than others, but
you're not going to get licensed by Harry Potter. You're not going to get licensed by
trying.
You're not going to get licensed by, Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series. You're probably not going to get licensed by anything that's already owned by a bigger company. Because, for example,
if it sits in like Paramount Studios, you're not touching it.
Yeah, the Twilight stuff, Lionsgate, because, there's been such an interest in Twilight, Lionsgate is going after people on Etsy. So, yeah, it's not as hard as it seems, but you can't pick the big box office movie related books, no Hunger Games and things like that. I mean, you might be able to license, but it's going to be a lot harder than, for example, Jennifer Armentrout. Write these names down. Sarah Maas, write these names down. We've got some pretty good licensing. Yeah. Anyway.
You done?
Yeah. I'm good.
The shirts that you're wearing, where can I get them? Where did you get yours? Target?
Yes.
She got hers at Target. I got mine from Teen Hearts. Careful if you go on Teen Hearts around.
Oh, they're naughty.
Yeah, around children. Their website is very much not safe for work. Most of what they sell is not safe for work. Extremely inappropriate stuff. I've also researched more on tarot licensing is different based on videos versus pictures of cards, which is insane. So I don't know how Etsy will go about this in the community. They will pick whichever the more strict enforcement policy is, and they will apply that universally across the board.
Yeah. That's usually how they do things. They pick whatever the strictest.
It's the safest way to not get themselves sued.
Especially when they don't know anything about it.
Because they're allowed to be more strict. Again, they're allowed to be more strict than copyright law to keep themselves safe, but they cannot be more relaxed than copyright law because that's not safe. So they're always going to take the more strict approach. I put one in. Should I repeat it? I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jennifer. Feel free to come back.
What do you like to do in the woods? Well,
Read.
This time it's going to be swimming and reading. We usually prefer to go out where we can't hear cars or airplanes and just read.
Yep.
Quiet. I like to hear my tinnitus at full blast.
Oh, I've got such a stack of books that I've got to read.
Me too.
I've got so many new releases. I'm reading all week. I'm currently reading the second book of the Stealing Infinity series by Alison Noel. It's a YA. But it's beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful series I've ever read. Highly recommend it. Super fun. If you like dark academia and time traveling and art history, it's a lot of fun.
I mean, we'll be out there for 5 days. I could probably try to comprehend the first chapter of the Silmarillion in that amount of time. I get why Etsy might be stepping away from message card jewelry. So for the most part, we as creators are not designing anything put on the jewelry for text t-shirts. At least we make the text and saying. I mean,
yeah, I completely understand because you're buying a shirt that you have, designed as.
We'll try to stay away from that topic because I know it's already going to get a ton of hate.
Well, we're just
don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
I saw they have implemented registries this year in the forums. Is that true?
Ooh, I haven't seen that, but that would be really, really fun.
Registries would be cool.
Do some wedding registries, baby registries.
I think that would be an amazing thing for Etsy to do.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Does Etsy use a strike system before they ban a shop?
They used to, but not anymore. It depends on what the strikes are. If it's copyright, sometimes you'll get a strike. However, sometimes they just ban you out of nowhere if they suspect that you've done something wrong. Sometimes they ban you out of nowhere for no reason, and then you got to fight it and bring up to their support that they've banned you for no reason. And sometimes they'll reactivate you. It's been a mess lately, but mainly what we're noticing is
they're getting better, but it's still pretty bad.
People who register for brand new accounts who don't already have an existing Etsy shop or have never created one, they tend to be the ones that have the hardest time because Etsy tends to immediately deactivate those shops. And then you have to get in this game of tag with their support in order to try to get that shop reactivated.
Can you use a copyright item or phrase in tags if your item could be used for cosplay or to decorate in a movie theme? No.
Nope. You can't use any terms at all that could tie to another brand.
Because the thing is, if your item, even if your item isn't like parody or anything actually copyright, like say it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's like a shirt that looks like a shirt that a character would wear, but is completely unrelated to the series itself, but could be used as a cosplay for something. You putting that in there as a tag has a chance for the AI to catch that, and just whoever puts in for the copyright infringement for that particular series could tag one of your things and it gets taken down, even though it had nothing to do with it, just because you put the tag in there. So I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah. And I mean, even when I first started my shop, I mean, this has been a thing forever. When I first started my first Etsy shop way back when Skyrim first came out and got big, I made key necklaces with dragons on them and called them Skyrim inspired. And I got a strike by Bethesda, just
almost immediately.
Yeah. Silly little, I think I was like 20 by then, 20-year-old Starla who didn't know any better. But yeah, you can't use any terms at all because it's really they're skimming for the keywords themselves.
Can I bundle a themed gift box that includes baked dog treats not made by me and a handmade dog bandanas?
Anything that gets put into a gift box technically needs to be made by you or handmade. Now, if you were to work with a small dog bakery that maybe hand makes their products, that would be a little bit different. But if you're just sticking like milk bones in there from the store, you probably won't be able to do that. I am not 100%. You might want to talk to Etsy, but for gift baskets, they tell you that everything that goes in that basket has to be made by hand. So you might be able to get off with like doing a production partner type thing with another local bakery, but it would need to be someone else who is also making their products by hand.
Do you need a separate resale tax exempt certificate for each Printify/Etsy account for POD? I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you need a separate resale? Hold on. Tax exempt certificate for each Etsy account for POD?
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna assume no, because if anybody can
elaborate that a little bit.
Yeah, feel free to elaborate a little bit, but no, I don't think. I don't know.
Is it better to list things as you finish them or wait and list a big chunk of stuff since once October, November, or does it not really matter?
So if you've got a big audience, I'm a big fan of releasing collections, or if you're, working to generate an audience and you want to incorporate that into your marketing, really that's the foundation of Handmade Alpha Academy, is building a viral brand where you can launch everything at once and then your audience flocks to go buy at once, which sends great signals to Etsy. However, if you don't got a big audience, you're not really big on the social media marketing thing, and you don't have anyone to tout a new collection of products to, if they're just sitting there ready to be listed, they can't sell unless they're listed. So just get those things listed. If they're just sitting around, it would be better to go ahead and list them, unless you're planning on a big fun like marketing campaign for the launch.
What was your first Etsy shop?
My first Etsy shop, well, if we want to go way back, my business was, I did tattoo artwork for tattoo artists. I did the stencil designs. And then I switched to making jewelry. I made skeleton key necklaces for 9 years. And then I switched to POD, which is what I do right now. So, and I've got several different POD projects across several platforms. I've also got a Wix. I've got a Redbubble. My daughter has a Redbubble. And now we're working on another Etsy shop, which is super duper exciting.
Can you add photos of bands' album covers on your banner in the background of a selfie? That is very specific. So like if you took a selfie
in front of like a poster or something,
and if that's back there, that's probably okay.
Yeah, you're not really using it to advertise or anything like that. If it's just in the background and it isn't the main focal point, I mean, if you had like the album art all over your banner, that would be a little bit different, but I don't think that anybody's going to go after you because it was hanging out in the background. It reminds me of, I know this is the second time I brought up Twilight during the stream, but it reminds me of the episode of Dexter where they're in the kids' rooms and there's a picture of, there's like a Twilight poster in the background just hanging out back there.
Okay. My bookmarks with 420 print on them have been deactivated at least 3 times.
It's the keywords that you're using.
Yeah. I have some pictures of a woman surrounded by the, I'm assuming 420 element. Four elements, maybe? I don't know.
4 elements.
I'm not sure where to start with keyword research, and I was wondering if you could help me get started, just a general direction to go.
Yeah, with the 4 elements.
Oh, with the 4 elements, okay.
I mean, I don't know.
420 discussion, so couldn't tell.
Right. I mean, I'm not the knower of all the keywords in the world. So I would start looking at things like maybe pagan, Wiccan, witchy, goddess, elemental. I would go into those realms. I know that when I did all of my different 4 element type jewelry, I was really heavy on doing, different elements. And I unknowingly put myself into a huge pagan market. And then I had to learn a lot about paganism because I knew nothing about paganism at the time. And I opened myself up to a really great market that was very good to me and who spent a lot of money. So
To clarify the new Etsy processing option, we have the option to include the weekends into our processing time. How does this improve or change a shopper's buying decision? Just adding a day? Thanks in advance.
It will make, so by adding those days or subtracting them, it can
extend or shorten processing times.
Exactly. Extending and shortening processing times, making it, making it more accurate so shoppers see a shorter processing time.
Better prediction on when it's going to arrive.
And shoppers don't have that expectation that their order is going to be shipped on a Sunday, for example, when the post office is closed. So I see it being a very positive thing.
You mentioned you sell backpacks. I'm having trouble finding a decent mock-up for them. Do you make your own?
No, the backpacks we do, I think that those are print full, not printify. And we do those, we do those through Printful. And we only do the embroidered patch backpacks where it's got like a big embroidered patch on the front with the Alpha logo, which, the Alpha Adapt shop is really just a place where we test things and it allows me to create YouTube videos. I love when I get comments that are like, your Etsy shop only has 90 sales. I'm like, that's our test shop that we use for merch. E-Rank has one too with no sales. It's floating around if you end up wanting to buy an E-Rank mug or shirt. It always cracks me up though, because people think they found some amazing discovery. Wow, Starla knows nothing about Etsy because her shop has no sales. I'm like, I'm not even listed as the main shop owner on that shop. Amber is.
Etsy finna ruin their business like YouTube. Well, YouTube's not ruining their business. YouTube's doing pretty good, and Etsy's actually doing pretty good too.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, Etsy lost money year over year. Etsy lost money year over year. Yeah, COVID's over. People are making less purchases online. The economy's not doing great.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, everyone's kind of trailing down, and it's because less people are spending money.
Yeah, there's a lot of economic issues going on that are, causing a little less money to be spent, but
is what it is. Also, I just got married. What specifically do I need to change in my shop? If I should post this in the Alpha Facebook group instead, let me know.
You need to make sure that you go through all of your settings and anywhere that you need to change your name. Amber Marie got her shop deactivated when she changed her last name after getting married. Her shop was deactivated for a couple days. So it'd be best to just get in there as quickly as possible and maybe reach out to Etsy support. Say, hey, I just got married. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. Is there anything else that I need to do to make sure that my tax information and my legal info is all up to date? But I would just go through all of your Etsy settings to make sure.
Two different parts to this. I've heard the more products you list, the better. Completely incorrect.
Yeah.
But if you list 2,000 products, you're not going to make sales on every item. Correct. Would that not hurt your conversion rate, resulting in more harm than good? You do not need to have 2,000 products. You don't need to list an item every day.
There's three parts to this that I think should be acknowledged. So the first part, the people who say that a list as many products as you can are going based on like rules of probability. More equals better to, people who think that if you just toss random designs that you're not passionate about on products and toss as many products out into the nether as possible, then, obviously rules of probability state that if there's more in the water, it's more opportunities. And while, yes, there are more opportunities to be found by using a variety of keywords, we do not see shops like this do well. You can go into the top most popular Etsy shops in the world using E-Rank and take a peek, and you will not find a single one of these, 2,000 listing random design POD shops
outside of sticker and supply shops.
Right, but even then they have a niche. These and it's expensive. Yes, you could probably have more opportunities to be found in search, but you have to consider how expensive it would be to do this. I hate those YouTubers who say things like that because they never factor in the fact that the people that they're teaching are trying to make money.
And you're selling to people who are not going to be longtime customers, and you're putting yourself out there in a bad way to the point that you're going to get bad reviews, and then you're going to be stuck with probably a bunch of inventory of crap you can't sell.
Or POD.
Or you just put your shop in the dumper. It's not worth it. Imagine you open a bar, right? You open a bar, and your choices are you could either open a dive bar and have your prices super duper low, or you could open some fancy bougie bar with expensive drinks. The first couple of months of your your cheap little dive bar, everybody's blowing up in there because the drinks are super cheap. But after a while, people start to realize that it's
kind of gross in here.
It's kind of gross in here, and the only people that are drinking here are violent drunks, and nobody wants to come here anymore. And then nobody shops there anymore. Nobody drinks at your bar anymore. When in reality, you could have made a little bit less money, but continued and perpetuated your audience of bougie little hipster boy drinkers
who go in there to hang out.
And they come back forever and they say good things and your Yelp reviews are great. That's kind of the same thing. Don't list a bunch of crap just for the sake of listing stuff, because you're just going to be selling to people who aren't going to return and are going to leave bad reviews. You're opening yourself up to negative perceptions, and you don't want that.
However, anyway. Billy boy. Would that not hurt your conversion rate, resulting in more harm than good? Now, I do want to state that the conversion rate that you see in your Etsy shop stats does not have any impact on you. That does not hurt you. It does not hurt your listing qualities or your shop, your customer and market experience score. It's a common misconception. What does help your listings is conversion rates on individual items. So individual items in search, those conversions where if someone performs a keyword search for, I don't know, dog sweatshirt, and they find your listing by searching for dog sweatshirt, and you have a dog sweatshirt, and they buy that dog sweatshirt, that tells Etsy that they performed a search for dog sweatshirt. You have a dog sweatshirt. You are what people looking for dog sweatshirts like. And that can help that specific listing. But the conversion rate that you see in your shop overall on the back end, when you go into your shop insights, is that what that tab's called? That does not have any weight on your shop. So, but you don't need to list 2,000 products.
Hannah said, damn it, my Etsy shop's full of violent drunks.
No, what do you sell?
Sharon said, that's so true. My friend opened a reservation-only gin bar, and she's absolutely killing it.
Ooh,
because people don't want to drink it. This is a totally off subject. People don't want to drink at dive bars anymore. And for the angry violent drunks that'll hit me in the comment section after the videos, we have a family member that owns a dive bar, so we're pretty in on the scene on how dive bars work before you hate on me.
Oh yeah.
That. Anyway,
my mom is the first woman in our family since we moved from Germany that has not owned a bar. My great grandparents cooked the dinner at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. They were on like the front lines of U.S. Prohibition. We've got such a family history in bars, and my mom, decided she didn't want to be a part of it. And of course I don't want to be a part of it. Though occasionally, Mark and I will have us a nice little gin and lemonade.
not at the bar though.
No,
we do that at home with my homemade lavender syrup.
Yes.
Anyway, I sell hand crochet products, and I also want to sell crochet accessories like crochet hooks. Is that permissible on Etsy?
It's a tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool for the thing.
You may sell tools on Etsy. So crochet hooks actually should be okay, because those would be considered a tool. You may sell craft supplies and tools.
Does the licensing for books always cost a lot of money? Like, for example, I painted on Fourth Wing. I would license it. I'm scared about the cost.
Okay, so Fourth Wing, that's going to be very hard. Entangled Teen, which Entangled Teen and Entangled owns Red Tower. Red Tower is just a subsidiary. That one's going to be very difficult simply because Entangled is a pain in the butt to work with. And I know that because I ran the only podcast for their Crave series by Tracy Wolf. They were very communicative at first. Now I'm working with multiple authors and talking to multiple authors who have worked with them. And I am, talking to other publishing companies who have worked with them. They're very hard to get a hold of. Fourth Wing is going to be hard because it is such a sensation right now. Be careful with that one. But if you do, you're going to want to reach out to Entangled because they own Red Tower. Other series for Sarah Maas for Court of Thorns and Roses, Crescent City, Throne of Glass. She requires approval on every product that you create, and I believe 20%. However, we're working with Jennifer Armentrout. That has been lovely. Jennifer Armentrout does not require as much as Jennifer does, or I mean, as Sarah does. We also got an approval by, what is
my goodness.
Sorry.
We just turned this into a book conversation.
I know, darn it, but I wanted to.
We have a lot to get to. Let's go, bro. Speed it up.
Let's see. The other
I'm
one.
not bullying her, guys.
Oh goodness! Don't start because then they'll start.
He's abusive.
All
I'm
right,
so abusive, guys.
Chloe. Penranda, and Air Comes to Rise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Chloe from an Air Comes to Rise series. She was amazing to license with. Very easy, very seamless process. She does not require anything. So there are authors. You just need to go through and make sure that I mean, some of them are requiring contracts. It is very tedious. I'm very grateful for Michelle because she's doing all of that part for us. I'm doing the designing.
If you do collage artwork and there could be a piece of text in it or song sheet music, is that copyright infringement? Yes, it is. The lyrics are owned by the artist or the label. And the sheet music itself is the physical interpretation of what the instrument is doing, which is the same thing as playing it.
Yes.
Yes,
I've
it's
seen
copyright infringement.
Yeah, I've seen that with people who do like book page art where they'll take like a Harry Potter book and make artwork out of it. And unfortunately, yeah, it can, especially if it's recognizable.
P.S. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
We appreciate you. That sounds so nice.
Have you read Fourth Wing? She has not read it yet. She's waiting because there will be another one.
Well, yeah, I'm going to wait until November. I mean, Amber Marie messaged me and she's like, no, it really is as good as everyone says. Wait to read it. I'm seeing people in the bookish communities who are literally falling into states of depression because they finished it and don't know what to do with themselves. And I get like that. So I'm like, well, I'll just wait till November until the second one comes out.
So if you make a Starbucks cup with the design on it still, or can you not use the word Star? You cannot use the word Starbucks in your listing. If you're making cups for Starbucks and you're not selling one that has like the logo on it, it's just like a standard generic cup that you're putting a design on, that's fine. But you can't use the word Starbucks or anything related to it.
And I know a lot of people do it, but you know, Starbucks technically is within their right to send you a cease and desist. You can't do it if you didn't come up with it and you don't have a license, you cannot sell it if it's not something that came out of your own brain. Now, technically, I've seen a lot of them where it'll be like Star Pups, and it'll kind of look like a Starbucks logo with a dog in the middle. That would fall into parody, but then at that point, it's up to Etsy.
So with Jack Daniels just winning that lawsuit against the company that made the chew toy that looked like a Jack Daniels bottle, that's not going to fly anymore.
Yeah, it was like Jack Russell's or something.
Yeah, that's not going to fly anymore. That kind of parody. Etsy doesn't really side with parody.
Yeah, so
you might get away with it for a little bit, but
it's always a risk. Just be aware that it will always be a risk.
We try to live by play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If it's a risk and you hit for it, you can't be mad about it. That's all I can really say.
Yeah.
I have a handmade crochet Spider-Man toy. Can I be listed on Etsy? No, you can't. You don't own the rights to that.
Yeah.
If your question is, can I list it on Etsy, and you were not the person that came up with the design, the idea is probably no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does Etsy only suspend new shops or permanently shut them down with no possibility to reactivate them? Most of the time they'll reactivate as long as you weren't doing something against their policies.
Now there have been a lot of issues lately. I will say there have been a lot of issues lately with shops getting deactivated. And for seemingly no reason. Etsy's crazy right now. My biggest piece of advice is if you open a brand new shop, try to get your branding and everything in place immediately. Don't let your shop look like there's nothing there. Don't load it in with a bunch of generic things or anything copyright themed. Be careful. Make sure that you've done a good job of filling things out like your about section. Make it feel like you're actually putting in an effort. And then when it gets deactivated, tell Etsy, hey, I'm starting my shop. I've already got, you can see what I sell. It looks really good. I think that this is done by mistake. I haven't violated any policies. Can you reactivate me? I'm noticing it's happening to a lot of POD sellers, and I think it's because Etsy is just like, okay, there's too many people who are just putting junk on clothing and trying to sell it on Etsy, rather than designing things that are unique and fun and that would complement Etsy's marketplace. So put in the effort when you start that shop and make sure that it looks good, because our shop, our bookish shop, it didn't get deactivated.
Really?
Nope.
It's weird. I don't the strict word search. If I make a quote unquote Granny Smith Apple sticker for laptops, Apple might flag my sticker just from the words not being related to their brand. I probably wouldn't worry about Apple. They don't really seem to care that much. Obviously, don't use the term Apple in reference to an Apple product, but with something like that, you're probably not
Yeah.
super great at risk. Not to mention, if you fight it, you'll probably get your thing back.
And
If it is
Jazzy,
literally an Apple.
Jazzy, it's the exact same as painting spines for books. Rebinding a book does not make that your book, and it does not license you to sell it. Unfortunately, you have to get approval from the specific author or publisher. Some authors maintain their rights to their books and they are able to license with you directly. Sometimes you have to go through a publisher, which is a little bit more complicated. So you have to reach out directly to those people though and ask them.
Is there a way to use a fake address for your email without a PO box, like a place to buy an address or anything? There's a couple people that posted that there are virtual addresses you can use
In the student campus.
right here.
Oh, okay.
I think you'd have to be careful with that because I think for tax purposes, it's going to depend on where you are, but I think you have to use an address that represents you in some way that has a fallback to your address, like for legal reasons. But I don't know. I would have to look at Etsy's policies because they might require you to have an actual address, and a PO box could fall under that. I'm not sure.
She means for her email list.
For your email list. I'm always a fan of using a PO box anyway.
Hey, boy.
Teen Hearts can be an inspiration for my POD. Not going to copy anything from them. I just love their style. Yeah.
They're fun.
I agree. My daughter wants to know if you'll ever do necklaces again. Probably not. She loved a cat necklace from one of the last collections you did. We thrown someone, Ashley, got it before we did.
I don't think that I will because it consumed so much of my time, and now that I don't do it anymore, I've already reassigned that time to E-Rank, and I've reassigned that time to content creation, and I've reassigned that time to working with Michelle in our new shop. So I would almost have to hire people to do everything for me. And I'd tried that before and nobody could create the way that I could. So I would rather just, if I ever do anything, it'll be for fun.
Yeah. Got to consider, I mean, you guys don't really see it, but I have more free time than she does, but she probably works 40 to 50 hours a week just on the alpha stuff, not including everything else. Around launch times, in between the middle season, like 3-4 months after launch, there's usually like 1 month where she gets a little bit more free time, but she's working 10 to 12 hours a day every day.
I worked till 10:30 last night.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready for vacation. That's a little different, but she's normally like awake from, we get up at like 9 o'clock in the morning and she works from like 10 to 8.
Right.
Every day.
During the summer, when Taylor's not in school.
From Printify, to avoid double taxing, orders carried out through our direct integrations with Etsy and eBay will be exempt from sales tax charges.
Thank you, Michelle. That's what you mean.
Etsy's taken down listings because trademark perfume bottles are used as props in the background. You might get taken down for the background ban posters.
I think that it was just on her banner. She had, a selfie of herself, not really a listing photo.
Obviously, best practice is to avoid having anything copyright anywhere in your pictures.
Yes.
That's... is the paper quality for journals any good with POD? Outsourcing journals to Chinese printers is out of the question. Too expensive.
It depends.
I don't know.
It depends on the printer. There was a question about that too. It depends on the printer. I have done them through Printful, not Printify yet, and they're okay. They're all right. They're not the best. The covers aren't super duper thick or anything, but they're all right. They're like bullet journals, I think. You just order samples.
Is it better to use white background pictures?
Etsy tends to prefer white or light, a nice, like, clean, neutral background. I recommend going to by Christina Nicole, her YouTube channel by Christina Nicole. She is fantastic. She's a product photography coach, and she teaches how to get really, really great light background photos. But you don't have to. It's just that tends to be what Etsy prefers when they do things like their editor's picks.
Why some clients are asking for the buyer email address. I don't know specifically what you're asking.
Why some clients are asking for the buyer email address. I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Question, imposter syndrome. I've not gone after so many things because I have this bad. Any book or general recommendations?
Imposter syndrome is something that you will feel no matter what.
Yeah, we
I
still get it pretty bad.
I still get it very badly. I'm sure that I probably do have some books, but I think that rather than trying to specifically target books about imposter syndrome, I would recommend trying to find books that help you with overall general communication with others. I think that when you have imposter syndrome, it can feel like the world is against you. And a lot of times that boils down to how you see your interactions with others, because that also reflects how you think they see you. Some of my favorite books to read when it comes to, communicating with others are How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That book was written in the 60s. And it's phenomenal. I highly recommend reading that. And I also recommend Getting to Yes. It is a book on persuasion. Both of those books are great for communicating with others. In terms of general mindset and things like that, though, really my biggest suggestion is to practice putting yourself in situations where you're a little bit uncomfortable and put yourself out there. I mean, really, if you go back and watch some of our first YouTube video live streams, I mean, they're awful, they're terrible. And we only got better.
And we're still getting better.
Yeah, we only got better because we sat here and we did it every week. Really putting yourself in those positions. Just like public speaking. I'm going to be speaking in August at a child development conference, teaching, teachers who have gone to college to be teachers, people that I worked with back when I was an early childhood educator. I'm going to be talking to them about starting their own businesses. And, I never would have been able to do that had I not just put myself out there and started getting on stage and doing events like this. So really it's about, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions and allowing yourself to learn from those experiences, especially when it comes to things like social media marketing, because I promise you, you're never going to do it so badly that you like turn people off to your brand.
Listing products frequently related to POD. What are your insights about it? We kind of already talked about this. There's not really any time frame for listing products.
Yeah,
you can list them as you get them done. You can list them as collection launches, whatever you would like to do.
Yeah, just don't take to heart all those YouTubers who say list one product a day for the Etsy algorithm. There is nothing that says that is a thing. You will not find anything official by Etsy that says you have to list a product a day. So if it's not something that the YouTuber can source from Etsy directly, I would be suspicious. You're always free to ask a YouTuber to cite their sources. And if they can't, and they say, well, it's that way in my shop, then they're relying on anecdotal evidence. And anecdotal evidence is not scientifically conclusive, nor is it usually related to anything that Etsy actually advises.
I use Etsy shipping, and I've noticed that sometimes when I go to print labels that Etsy will indicate it may arrive late, even if I'm shipping within the window promised. Any idea why? There could be delays, there could be weather issues, there could be mail strikes, there could be any number of things in between. Maybe the person lives in a remote area and somebody's got to hike it out to their house 4 days away from the local post office. I mean, you never know.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I would compare with something like Pirate Ship. A service like Pirate Ship might be a good option just to see.
Comparisons are free, right?
You could pop one in there before you even buy the label just to see.
Should I start one shop with digital products in German and English languages, or 2 separate shops if the products are only somewhat related?
I think that's completely up to you. Yeah, I think that's completely up to you. I would start with one shop and just test it that way. And then if you feel like it's not quite hitting the mark, then maybe separate them.
Is Starseller going to have some love, or does it just continue simply being a badge? Is Etsy planning on doing anything with changes on that topic?
We haven't heard any changes on the topic. I'm assuming that they're probably going to leave it how it is, just because there are some industries where Starseller is literally impossible. For example, people who sell stickers, they're not going to track a little envelope. They're not going to pay for tracking on that. No. Which makes them ineligible for Starseller. So
you also have shops that make like 10,000 sales a week that are stuff like sticker shops that get like 5, 6, 7,000 messages a month. There's literally no way to keep up with that, even if they had a whole team of people helping them.
Yeah. So as of right now, it has no impact on your search ranking. It's just a novelty.
If you want to be in the spirituality niche but don't know which direction to go in, what keywords could I search to figure it out? Search for the kind of things that you're interested in selling and see what people are doing.
Yeah. I
Find
mean,
inspiration.
yeah. I would start with spirituality and start narrowing down from there. Look at the keywords that they're using in their listings and see if you can get some ideas.
I have an AI art shop fully stating clearly that it's AI and I pay for the AI service, and I'm wondering about any updates on regards to the AI stuff. There really hasn't been a whole lot.
No, Etsy hasn't announced anything yet.
There hasn't really been anything significant in the legal realm when it comes to the AI stuff, and I suspect that most websites aren't going to really touch it until there are legal rulings on it.
Yeah.
Do your views generally improve for POD products once you go into each listing on Etsy and update the listing beyond what automatically transfers over from filling out the info on Printify?
Okay, so there's two layers to that question. Do your views improve when you change things? So first, that assumes that there's a magical algorithm that gives you views. Your product has to be good to get views.
Yeah.
You have to make a product that people want. That's the most important thing. So start by asking yourself, is there demand? Explore your target customer and make sure that you have a solid design, because you could have the best SEO in the world, and if that product sucks, nobody's going to click it. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case, but just be aware that, people have to want what you have for you to get views. Second part of your question, absolutely. Do not just sit with what, your POD partner has generated into your listings. You need to go in there and do some keyword research. You need to do your own SEO. You need to do your own tags and titles. You need to write your own descriptions. If you let that stuff just auto-generate out, none of that is going to be keyword optimized. Down below, I've got my free Etsy SEOodles toolbox. That's a free Etsy SEO toolbox. It contains 30 days of eRank Pro. It's got step-by-step tutorials. It's even got a step-by-step Etsy SEO tutorial for POD specifically. I highly recommend grabbing that. It's free. It's got everything that you need to get a good foundational knowledge of Etsy SEO. And I think that would probably be your best start based on your question.
By the way, do you guys drink? We occasionally will have like a drink, but I haven't been drunk in 3 years, 4 years.
That's not true. You and Rob just got drunk.
I didn't get drunk.
I thought
we drank, but I didn't get drunk.
Oh, I thought that you were.
No, I haven't been drunk in probably 3-4 years since the last time we went to the bar with Renee. We
will typically make once a month. We'll make like some nice little meat and cheese tray.
Have 2-3 gin and lemonades.
But
charcuterie board.
I don't think that what we drink would qualify as
drinking. Watching a bit behind and just try to search in the mobile app, which I never use, and all the result images were badly cut off. Was checking for my clocks and I can only see half the image. Yeah, they're still figuring that stuff out. Wait, what was that book series you're reading again? I need a rec, Mark. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, from me? What book? I'm reading.
Yeah, your Mark.
Oh, you didn't say that you're. Oh, the
Silmarillion. It's just a OG lore book to Lord of the Rings. Basically the before story, but it's supposed to be stupidly difficult to comprehend because it's written like a Bible. Is it okay to pair digital downloads with POD products in the same Etsy store? Yep. I would just make sure that you are making it clear that the digital downloads are digital downloads and not physical products.
Yep.
A lot of crochet items like my witch hats could technically be used as cosplay items, and I started using cosplay as a tag without anything following it. Should I remove it?
No.
Cosplay should be fine.
Yeah, I think it would be fine.
What about selling vintage anime, manga, or designer, for example? If it is not open domain, it is not your property.
Well, if it's vintage and it falls into the vintage category, technically you can, but there's always that risk that, just read Etsy's policies on vintage to make sure that you're okay.
That it's actually vintage.
Mm-hmm.
My shops have a ton of listings, and I'm wondering how I'll be able to handle changing the image size. How important is it to have image totally cover the phone screen? So people were saying that in her video, she said not to change your images to accommodate the change. So I would probably wait until we see if it does any damage. And then unfortunately having a bunch of listings, such is running a business, unfortunately.
We'll keep you updated on it. You know,
Yeah.
Etsy might get a wild hair up their butt and decide to change it back for all we know. Right now, I just want you guys to be aware that it's happening in case you have listings that are absolutely unrecognizable in your shop. If you've got photos that are so bad that you can't even see what the product is, then that might be a point where you want to change them.
Our business address is a box at the UPS store. It's treated like a regular address, much like renting an office building.
Awesome.
Virtual address may be necessary for some people. As a trans person, doxing myself and my email list could get me very... Yeah, but, a P.O. box isn't traceable back to your home address, nor would a UPS... Well, I don't know about the UPS address, but the P.O. box, you can't really, like, trace that back. The government agencies can, but somebody can't just be like, hey, I was going to send mail to this person's P.O. box. What's their real address? They can't, They can't do that. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But we do understand not getting doxxed. It kind of sucks. I watched your trends video and just realized SJ Moore is you. SJ Moore. Neither of us is SJ. Her middle initial's K.
Yeah. How do you block your time? Do you use a paper planner? I do. I've got a video on it that I posted in January talking about the planner that I use. Mark also uses it. And I talk about how I kind of set my planner up. I
haven't used mine in about a month. I need to get back on it.
Yeah, we use the Legend planner. But I am a huge fan of it. I like having paper.
All the time that we have. I have a wonderful, beautiful rack of ribs up there, and I have to go redo our registration, so I gotta get scooting.
He got pulled over yesterday.
Yeah, our tags are expired. I thought I had renewed them for like 3 years, and the actual like date tag is covered up by the plate, so you can't even see it. Which means he had to actually physically run our tag to get that, because you can't even see color. You can't even see the color of it. Oh, it's completely covered up.
It was a nice cop. He was nice. He was like, okay, well, you're fine. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Handmade Alpha Academy students, please be aware that Mark and I will be gone from Sunday through Thursday. However, you can still get a hold of us if there is an emergency. Just email us and make sure you put emergency in the subject line. Otherwise, we will wait until Friday to respond to you. We also are going to have a video on Tuesday. It is another one of the Etsy SEO questions videos. These are a lot of fun, and I hope you'll tune into that. YouTube views the last few weeks have been really bad for everybody. So go support the YouTubers you love. End of summer is always hard for YouTubers because everybody's outside. Nobody's inside watching YouTube. So, watch my videos. Help me. No, we don't.
Our main income stream is not YouTube.
No, but it's still, I am watching my view counts, making sure that I'm creating good content. And it's always sad when I create content that I know is good and nobody's watching it. So check that out on Tuesday. Other than that, guys, have an awesome weekend. Be safe. Check your listing photos, and
guess we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Enjoy your quiet
You remembered to wait.
I know.
It's the first time.
Maybe next week we'll have a
Maybe next week. No, we won't, because we'll be gone. I don't have time to make one. Oh, we kidding.